Kimcho, and welcome. My name is Brandon Waddell, and I'm going to go ahead and do some analysis now on the Nifty 50 as well as the Bank Nifty Index. Just give you a little heads up as to what I'm seeing so far for this week. Last week, we really didn't get a whole lot of movement out of the markets. You can see that we started off trying to push to some new highs, and we did make a nice high above 60 on the RSI. Or actually, I'm sorry, this is weekly. Last week, we didn't do much of anything. We pretty much did inside week where we ended up pushing a little below the previous week, but didn't go anywhere. So before we did make that high, so we're definitely not falling down, but there's not a lot of bullishness. And this is a weekly chart of the Nifty here, as you can see. We ended up bouncing off of a weekly demand a while back and really have not done much since then. That's actually the zone right there that we bounced from. And since then, we failed to make new highs, even though we were able to break out just a little bit over these previous highs. You can see we pulled back, but we're not getting any kind of momentum in either direction. As a matter of fact, the most recent high we just did 2 weeks ago, you can see that we could not break to a new high, but we did put in a fresh low last week. And we did that with the RSI below 60. And that's actually a little bit bearish. So we may see continuation either sideways or more to the bearish side. We go down to the daily chart. Let's see what's going on there. And there's consolidation, basically, is what you're seeing. So looking at this consolidation, you can say there's some lower highs and higher lows. So price is a bit indecisive, as you can see, and consolidating. So we're going to end up breaking out of this eventually. Just not sure which direction it'll end up breaking. Usually, when you go into consolidation, you continue the direction you were in before the consolidation. That would be, in this case, down. We impulse back up. We should continue our move downwards. So if we look at both a fib retracement standpoint, let's see how far we retraced. We went about 61.8%, then 50%. So we'll have to see if we end up breaking out and coming back. It might go to 38.2, who knows? Either way, this is looking somewhat bearish for the market because you can see we were able to get again below 40, but now we're just stuck sideways. And if we do break out to the downside, this is what I would expect. Continuation down to the 61.8% expansion or extension. That's your first target. The second target, we've already been in this demand zone, so we'd be looking for something new, and that'll give us about 16,280.45 if the markets do break this upward sloping trend line for the triangle. But that does look like a symmetrical triangle that's ready to continue to move to the downside. Going into the 4-hour time frame to kind of zoom in a little bit more, again, you're just seeing that consolidation. If you were to measure the retracement, 78.6 right on the dot right there. So that's a deep retracement, and that's to be expected when you're seeing sideways motion. But notice little hints. We can't get above 60, which would be bullish, but we can go below 40, just barely. But that's enough to kind of tip the direction the market wants to go, and it appears it wants to break to the downside. So if we are continuing, let me just remove this. And let's say this was an impulse correction as well. What I can do is this. Go ahead and change the colors first so we can see the difference between the higher time frame extension and the lower time frame. Just use that brighter red. And we'll put in a new one right here just to see if there's any correlation between them. And look at that. There is some overlap. So first of all, I want to put in extension. There we go, the right colors. So they're a little different. Secondly, I want to go ahead and add in that level. There we go. So you can see, first of all, if we do start breaking down, we've got this 16,888, 16,858. That little 30-point range right there is a really good area that if we break out, we'll likely bounce, retest before dropping. And we can even retest to the 17,175. So what I'm kind of anticipating right now is this move down, again, stalling out probably in that area. Not sure of exactly where, but then a retracement back to retest the trend line, maybe just retest the fib area right here as well, ultimately culminating in a new low all the way down here at that 16,280. So like I said, it could be somewhere a little bit lower, this impulse down, but that's kind of what I'm expecting this week based on what I'm seeing here in the charts. And I don't see anything else conflicting with that so far. Going to the 60-minute time frame, we're a little more bullish, but not a whole lot. So that's kind of what I'm seeing right now. Going again back to that 4-hour time frame. Expecting a breakdown, retest, breakdown, continuation to the downside, ultimately getting a 16,280 by the end of the week. Maybe. See, it's a 4 hour. Yeah, we could probably get there before the end of the week. So go back to the weekly time frame and we'll go to the Bank Nifty. Or Nifty Bank. There it is, Bank Nifty. And I still have my notes in from last week. As you can see, I was expecting a bit of a pullback and we got nothing. So let me clean this up. As you can see, we pretty much went nowhere, but we did make a high. Again, lower high, lower low on both sides of that green candle. Could not get above 60. That is bearish. And this wasn't really a great supply zone. I suppose it is, though. You have, yeah, that is a zone. You had drop, base, base, drop. And you can see second test on the zone, but we still can't get above 60. So this may be enough to drop us and break this nice uptrend that we've been in for a little while here. You can see we just kind of 1, 2, 3 touches on the trend line. We'll see if we're able to break that trend. Going down to the daily time frame now on the Bank Nifty, you can still see we're in an uptrend. And I don't know if this, still works. 1, 2, 3 touches, right? Let's go ahead and extend that line out to the right because that's the trend line that we're on. But it looks as though we're losing a little momentum. Not ready to break yet. It might just go a little more sideways this week on the Bank Nifty. Kind of sandwiching between this low. Again, kind of expecting maybe choppiness where we start pushing a little bit down just to meet up with the trend line and then bounce a little, but not really making new highs. So overall, it's looking as though we're going to just kind of push down, bounce, make a lower high than we did before, and then continue to push down. Eventually, it looks as though we should be able to break down, though. So it's kind of what I'm seeing. And on the daily chart, there's really not any great demand zones anywhere nearby. Well, drop, 1, 2, 3, 4, rally, that's a zone right there. That would be the downside target ultimately if we do end up breaking that trend line. Look for it to go to 35,308 to the downside. Also, let's see, impulse correction. Oh, look at that. The first impulse down puts us right there at the bottom of the trend line for a bounce, and then retracement to a lower high before we continue down. So that's kind of what I'm seeing for the Bank Nifty as well as the Nifty. Going down to the 4-hour time frame, don't really have anything else here. We are still trying to hold up with some bullishness, but this is really weak. We did get above 60, but we held the supply zone. So that also tells me on the current move down, because this peak held supply. Okay, now it's not strong enough to have broken that supply zone, which would have been nice if you were bullish. That supply zone should have broke. Instead, it held supply, but you did break 60 on the RSI. So that means the current move down cannot break to a fresh low without a retracement first. So again, that's really confirming what I'm seeing. If we continue to move down, we should be able to bounce probably a little closer to this. Pull it back a little bit right there. It won't go exact, but that's okay. But you get the idea. We're moving back into this 37,895 right now before we bounce. And if we bounce, we're probably going to pull back. Now let's see if we can put in some sort of Fibonacci retracements here. Comes down, like I said, to that 895 area. Oops. Template, we'll do retracement, and that should be 895.80. So it's 37,895.8. Yes, there we go. So that's the correct measurement. And now we can go down to the 60-minute time frame just to see if there's anything that aligns. And there really isn't. So we haven't forwarded any kind of supply yet. If we do forward supply, it's going to be right in here between 50 and 61.8. So as we move down and bounce off that zone, we may not bounce as high as I originally thought, and instead bounce up to this area, which is hopefully going to create a zone. It hasn't quite yet. What we still need are some fresh lows to be made on the next couple candles. So if we open up and we end up right here, we have rally, base, base, drop. We need some follow through. If we get that and we push down to this area of that 37,895, then I would expect a retracement back towards that area of 38,579 before we again move to the downside at There it is, way down there. 35,308. So that's what I'm expecting for the Bank Nifty out of this week. So if you like the video, please let me know. Hit the like button and make sure you subscribe so you can catch the new videos as they come out every week. Until next time, everyone, trade safe, trade well, and take care.